Illinois resident Sharon Sumpath tested positive for COVID-19 last December. While thankfully Sumpath didn't get extremely sick, she did end up losing her senses of smell and taste. She thought she was in the clear after both soon returned, until 6 months later, out of nowhere, she lost them again. Fast forward to today, and she's still grappling with distorted smell and taste.
So all of a sudden, we didn't know, does this smell right? Is this okay? Even if we had, milk, we couldn't smell to see if it was still good. There's so much that relies on your sense of smell, and once it's gone, you're like, oh, this is a whole part of my life is, dysfunctional now.
For those who can smell, it's hard to imagine what life would be like with this issue. Humans form many memories through the nose, as scents are all around us, whether they are momentary or long-lasting. Getting a whiff of a certain smell can transport us back to a specific time, place, or person. For instance, the bold aroma of freshly brewed coffee can bring about a comforting and awakening feeling, while the lingering smell of tobacco might elicit a negative memory of a specific person or place. For Sumpath, scents like jasmine, which she used to gravitate towards, now smell powdery and musty instead of floral and bright. In some cases, she can no longer remember the original sense of some of the things she once loved.
I used to put minty essential oils in my diffuser, and it smelled terrible. So now I don't even remember what mint is supposed to smell like. I forgot it. It's the strangest thing. Even oranges, anything citrusy, smells like it's gone rancid. And I remember really loving the smell of citrus. There's just something refreshing about it. And now I'm like, I don't know what it's supposed to smell like anymore.
It can be difficult to break down and describe what a certain smell is like. A similar scenario would be trying to explain to a person what the color red is if they've never seen it before. How do you put into words what freshly cut grass smells like? Or the scent of a Christmas pine tree? It's a unique and puzzling division that only the hundreds of highly specialized receptors in our nose can piece together.
Scientists really don't understand why it is that a certain receptor can identify a certain smell as what it is. We have 400 types, but we have the ability to distinguish between anywhere between 80 million to a theoretical 1 trillion smells. There's some dispute about that high end, but 400 types versus 80 million is a big range. So clearly, each of the receptors are capable of doing extraordinary numbers of things.
That's Jude Stewart, a journalist and the author of Revelations in Air, a guidebook to smell. Stewart has been sniffing and analyzing different scents for years. She's always been enamored by the complexity of smell and the powerful abilities of the nose itself. One of the reasons why scents are so connected to emotion and memory is because of where these signals are directed to in the brain.
The olfactory bulbs are the area that receives these signals from the receptors, and they are pretty much the closest that your brain gets to being exposed to the outside world. And that's really where the smells are processed for the brain. So what's interesting is that bypasses your thalamus and all your sort of new brain structures, and the olfactory bulbs are instead kind of tangled up with your old brain structures, including your amygdala, which controls your emotions, and hippocampus, which is responsible for a lot of memory making. So there is a very good reason in your brain why it's hard to put your name on a label to smells, and why it's so tied up in memory and a sense of emotion.
And the olfactory receptors that send these signals aren't just in the nose. Stewart says smell is a much more comprehensive system than most assume.
Actually, there are olfactory receptors all throughout your body. So they are lining your skin, your muscles, kidneys, lungs. And so really what they're equipped to do is sense chemicals. So if you think about it, inside your body, there are a lot of different instances where, a change in chemical balance or something might require like a response by a certain organ. So like a kidney is a perfect example, or somewhere in your digestive tract. So it's kind of crazy, but there are parts of your body beyond your nose that are just constantly smelling.
Stewart herself actively seeks out these interesting aromas daily. What's one of the weirdest scents she's ever smelled? Durian, a spiky yellow fruit originating from Southeast Asia.
It smells like kind of rotting onions, I would say, and then the inside is this beautiful, creamy, orange-yellow, custardy type interior. And so it's a really weird, constantly weird amalgam between the stink and the beautiful sweet taste, often eaten in ice cream. So I ate a lot of durian ice cream. We made it by hand, and I just wanted to become friendly with the smell that it was initially very off-putting. So that was a fun experience.
Outside of food, scents are big business for many brands. From candles to cologne, people identify with some fragrances over others. Perfumes in particular change over wear time and are unique to each person. Stewart points to one common ingredient found in men's cologne called oud that she finds interesting.
The origin of it is a particular type of wood. So there's an insect will attack this particular kind of tree, and when it does, the tree makes this response by creating like a very hard resin around the area of infection so as to inoculate the rest of the tree. And that super hard wood is very rich, beautiful smelling wood, and that becomes oud. And I was interested in that because it's a perfume that's very prevalent in a culture outside of my own, and it's also very common among men.
Another lesser-known ingredient used to stabilize perfumes is ambergris, which comes from an unusual source.
I talked to a New Zealand ambergris dealer, and she sent me some tiny little lumps of ambergris, which is a perfume ingredient that comes from a very weird source. It's from sperm whales, basically whale poop, and it cures in the ocean for a really long time and then washes up on shore. And when it's really fresh, it smells like poop. And then when it's been curing for a very long time, it has this beautiful floral, like kind of top note that's kind of scintillating and really something special. So she sent me one that was fairly poopy and one that was semi-poopy and then one that had the beginnings of that beautiful top note smell. So that was really an interesting one to encounter in person.
Smell is weird and evocative, but it's a universal trait. Stewart highlights that in some cultures around the world, people rely on smell as a way of greeting or embracing others.
So in the Arab world, there's this practice of nose kissing, and so you press your nose against the other person's nose, the bridge of it, and then you can breathe each other's smell in, and so that's sort of a very close contact if you think about it. So New Guineans have a practice of putting their hands in each other's armpit, so a sort of handshake but goes right past the hands to the armpit, and then you sniff your fingers, which I thought was kind of sweet.
Even here in the U.S., when we hug our friends or family members, it's not only about touch or what we see, but also their scent, which can be familiar and comforting. For Sampath, she misses these little things and hopes her smell and taste come back soon, because without it, life just isn't the same.
Even now, there's times where I'm just not hungry because nothing smells right, nothing tastes right. It is very crippling in a way.
Smell is a unique sense, to say the least. Next time you're out and about, try making a conscious effort to pinpoint the different smells and aromas swirling around you. To find out more about this topic and our guests, Jude Stewart and Sharon Sampath, visit viewpointsradio.org. Also check out Stewart's new book, Revelations in Air, a guidebook to smell, available online and in bookstores now. For more behind the scenes, search Viewpoints Radio on Twitter and Facebook. This segment was written and produced by Amira Zaveri. I'm Gary Price. Coming up on Viewpoints.
The judge gave me the date that I need to go. So that's so hard. Oh my goodness. I was packing like crazy, packing my clothes, packing my daughter's clothes. Oh, I'm sorry.
One woman's never-ending deportation nightmare. Then,
alcohol, yeast dough, if you're making cookies with your kids and you got a chow hound, don't let them eat the raw dough.
Keeping your pet safe and healthy this holiday season. I'm Marty Peterson.
and I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.